for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item on our agenda is roll call. Mr. Lloyd?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Frederick?
Present.
Mr. Morris?
Here.
And Chandler is present. Item 3 is approval of the agenda for this meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Support.
Motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Morris, to approve the agenda for this meeting. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chandler votes yes. It's been approved. Item 4 is approval of minutes for the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting held on August the 2nd, 2023.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Morris, to approve the minutes of the meeting held.
Mr. Lloyd.
I'm sorry?
Mr.
Oh,
Lloyd.
was I thought it was. All right, we'll start over. A motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Lloyd, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on August 2nd, 2023. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chandler votes yes. The minutes have been approved. Item 5 is on old business. I guess we're dealing with old business tonight, aren't we?
We kind of are.
Anything that we need to discuss under old business? I guess we're going to get to some of that anyway, are we? Under old business.
Under new business.
All right. Item 6 is new business, and that's the main thing for our agenda tonight, I think. Item A is the zoning ordinance amendments. The first one is for amendment for section 3.04A3, accessory buildings, detached accessory building size. Item 2 is section 3.05A for fences, it'd be the location and height. And we've got copies of the
Yes, and if I may,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, since we didn't have any petitioners tonight, we thought we'd take this opportunity to possibly discuss some things that have come up a lot in our department with the accessory buildings and the fences, to see if there is a possible amendment we need to make to these ordinances, if there's something we need to look at as far as, like, with accessory structures, the first one. I know a lot of times we get somebody wanting to build a pole barn, let's say they already have a 24 by 24 garage, they come in to pull a permit they're on an acre and a half, they come to pull a permit for a 30 by 40 pole barn, and when we review it, we look at it and we deny it, we call them, tell them they have to come to BZA to get a variance and go that route. And I just wanted to discuss if there was something you guys thought and get your feedback on if the square footages all looked good, or if there was something in there, if there was a certain percentage of, if they were going to build and they were going to exceed it by 300 square foot of what this says, that it could be an administrative review and decision if there was no negative impact for the neighbors or the neighborhood, or maybe we don't need any amendments. I just thought I'd get your guys' feedback, because you guys know the city well, you've seen a lot of these, to see if there was any changes we may need to make.
One of the things that we also do, just as part of the planning and zoning world, is we periodically review what kind of cases are coming to you guys. And anytime you're getting a lot of variances, it's telling you that something's a little off, probably in your ordinance, and you probably need to look at it. Even if it is just a discussion to say, nope, it's fine, it's working well, and this is giving us the oversight that we kind of want, because they're all so different. But when you start seeing patterns of things, sometimes it's an opportunity to say, maybe this is a little burdensome, or maybe this is not the right standard for what we're seeing. So you're probably going to hear this a few times tonight, but as part of Redevelopment Ready, which was the certification that the city went through, looking at all of our processes, everything from our public participation processes to our development review processes. And one of the things that we got a lot of credit for was our organization of our zoning ordinance. In fact, the city of Romulus was used in many training sessions as part of redevelopment ready qualification, because our stuff is pretty good. And this is one of the things on the checklist to get qualified, that you say that you're looking at your zoning ordinance from time to time, you're looking at what you've got coming before you, and is everything current, and are you doing the best with it that you can? So part of it is that too, so.
You know, if you look at this, the list of the ones that we've had in the past approvals, the range of property size to building size has pretty been within a certain range.
Yes.
Either in the 2,400 square feet to 750 square feet. I don't recall anything much over that.
Yeah.
And I think generally, when people are thinking about having a pole barn built, unless they do it themselves, but they'll go to a contractor, and they're usually within a certain size. They're used to building either 30,000 square feet, 40,000, 50,000 square feet. But when I misquoted that, not that big.
Yeah, like 1,200 square feet, 1,500,
Anyway,
30 by
but it-
40 is
within-
very popular.
Just like, for example, mine's a 1,500 square feet. 30 by 50. Yeah, 30 by 40. And that's, a lot of the barns generally in my area are that size.
Yeah, so, yeah, I know where you're going. So, like I say, in the past, you know, if somebody comes in with a, you know, has, you know, some acreage, you know, acre or two or more,
Yes.
and they want to put up a, like I say, 1,500 square foot building, but they have to, but even then, with acreage, now, I guess I'm asking some questions now. They still have to come here for that?
If somebody, let's say somebody had 2 acres or 1.5 acres, and they wanted to build a 1,500 square foot pole barn, if they did not have any accessory structures on their property at the time, they would not need a variance. But let's say they had a 24 by 24 detached garage, then they might have plenty of room and they can meet all the setbacks and meet the percentage requirements, but they would go over the square footage because they have a 480 square foot garage and then a 1,500 square foot pole barn, and then they're over, they have to come for a variance.
So it's the square footage, I mean, that's how you figure it.
Total square footage.
Total square footage
Total
of
square
all
footage.
accessory buildings.
And that would be, like you say, a detached garage or a
A detached garage.
detached.
Detached,
Or a shed, or yes.
Shed or, right.
Because there's nothing in the ordinance about numbers, it's just all about square
Your
footage.
total square footage, right.
Because I know some communities different communities will do, you're only allowed, depending on your size, you're only allowed a certain number of accessory buildings, and then they go off a percentage of what size your home is. And that, all communities do it a little bit differently. I don't think we're far off on what we have, sometimes I think, really those 1 to 2 acres and the 2+ acres, like say if somebody's got 7 or 8 acres, they got a lot of property, they might have a 30 by 30 detached garage already, and then they want to build a 1,800 square foot pole barn, it would fit in the area, you know what I mean? I don't think it would have a negative impact, but it's something they would have to still get a variance for, because they will go over the square footage.
It does seem like, you know, for these larger plots, that maybe raising the allowable cap above 2,400 square feet may be something that, you know, we should look at. If we look at all the items that got approved, excuse me, I mean, you know, some of them are slightly over 2,600, 2,700, some of them are, you know, 3,000 square feet, but generally speaking, with those larger plots, you could see the need.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I really think of, the only reason why, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why, you know, having these come in for approval each time is really good is because you get the feedback of the neighbors, right? But on some of these larger plots, the neighbors aren't even a factor,
Yeah.
so.
No, I agree.
But you know, like, the neighbor's gonna be a factor, but sometimes you still have to have them come in just to keep certain guidelines in for people not getting too far out.
Yes.
Because you will get that.
Yeah, and that's what we don't want. I don't want to have, like, we don't want to let, have these big giant buildings all over the place.
Right, that's one reason I can see reason they still coming in, because you gotta have some type of precedent and guideline. And this way, you're keeping them in that. Because someone is gonna go out there and build this humongous, oversized, outrageous, and it's a big name. Now, you got a headache that you could have avoided just by continuing
Yeah.
them coming in, it's just something to consider.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
and I don't want to like eliminate this ordinance at all.
No.
I'm just trying to look for a possible, like, when somebody comes in, if they're wanting to build something where it's like within a certain percentage of what the square footage allows, like the example I get, well, the guy that came, was it the last month?
On Superior?
Cogswell, was it Cogswell?
Cogswell.
Yeah.
Cogswell. And he came in for a permit, he was building, I believe it was a 30 by 40 pole barn. He had a couple sheds, we talked to him about that he tore down, but he had a detached garage that he did not want to tear down.
Right.
And the barn, and he had like cars outside, it was gonna be a good thing for him to build this barn so he can put his stuff inside, but he had to wait that month, however long it was, because we had to deny it because he had to get the variance because he was over the square footage by just a few hundred square foot, I can't remember what it was.
400 square feet.
400 square foot.
I just I crunched all the numbers for what the request was and what the ordinance was.
Okay,
And like, he had .847 acres, almost an acre, and he went 400 over. The big dog up here was somebody's got 2.95 acres, 2,400 was allowed, they went to 5,345. That was a 2,945 square foot.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't
That's a-
think you
that's a
were
big
here.
one.
I think that was that guy.
Yep, that was a big one.
Was there a business? Did we suspect there might have been a business running out of that one?
It's on Cogswell Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not,
2,945 square
Yeah.
foot
that was a pretty
over what
big.
was 2,400 was allowed.
Yeah.
That needs to come in.
Yeah, that needs to, I 100% agree, that needs to come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to that point,
What's that
right?
address?
So there is a reasonable amount of increase, I think, with each of the tiers, each of the 4 tiers from an acre standpoint, that we could probably, if there was a proposal out there, I think we'd probably be open to it. The maximum cap, right? 87,000 square feet or more. The cap is currently 2,400 square feet of total, building space. Maybe that goes up to 3,200 or something like that. And then each of the tiers, you can incrementally increase. I'm sure we'd be open to that.
Yeah, and it could even be, and that was my thought, either we could do an increase on the tiers, or it could even be okay, say we don't want to increase the tiers, we could say if you are, so it's 2,400 square foot on this 2+ acres, if you're within either 10% or within 500 square foot of what's allowed, we could possibly administratively do the review without them having to wait that month to make sure there's no negative impact on the neighbors, no. So it could be just like a verbiage like that that's added to
Sure.
the ordinance if we didn't want to actually change the numbers for everybody. And that's kind of,
So just using the 2,400 square foot as an example, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them on here as examples. One went 600 over, the one was 2,945 over, one was 190, 1817, 970, what's he here, 224, 160. So it was, maybe say up to 600?
yeah, because I was going to say probably, there's a sum of those numbers that you're talking about, I believe they definitely should come in for a variance.
Yeah.
But then like the 190 and the 260,
that's
if it's
being
reasonable and it's not negatively and it's a positive thing,
And it seems like that's being driven by either you got this size barn or this size barn.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all that was available.
yep.
Because we had a similar situation on a house on Tyler Road. We asked them, what the square footage, because they asked for a variance over, they said there was either this one or this one, there was nothing in between.
Yeah,
So it made sense that they had to kick it up a notch.
kick it up.
So maybe just saying,
Yeah.
if you do a little research, saying, like, structures that are like Church's Lumber, not Church, they're gone, Chelsea Lumber, and see what their barn kits are,
Yeah,
and see if it falls between 24 and 3, and find a number in there maybe.
see what that number is.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
So, yeah.
Chelsea.
Really good idea.
But I do understand what you're saying. You're saying maybe we just apply a 30% threshold or something across every tier and say, well, if that's your only variance that you require, and you meet all the other criteria, you're allowed to go, we can get an administrative approval of up to 25, 30% above
Yeah.
what's
and-
stated in the ordinance.
And with that administrative approval, it wouldn't be like we would approve it every time, no matter what.
Correct. No.
We would look at it and say, well, this one's kind of, you got to go in front of
Well,
the
then you
board
gotta
for
go
this
in front
one.
You could say X amount of acres and up, X amount of acres and down, you got to come in
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
to see if it fit.
I think it's reasonable. I think you keep, a lot of them would get settled at the administrative level and not have to come to the.
Well, it's just more for the residents that are wanting to build a barn, that don't really know or understand, that they're thinking they can build this 1,200 square foot barn, don't realize that their garage counts against it, and they got an acre, and it would fit well and be a good thing on the property, that they wouldn't have to, we have to tell them, sorry, and we just published, so you can't get on the meeting until a month and a half from now before we can give you a permit to do it. And they don't come in a lot, it's just the idea that if somebody's trying to do something good, we could help them out in the timeline.
Instead of putting them off,
Yes, yep.
I totally agree with that. I like that.
This doesn't change any of the other code requirements.
Not at
right?
all.
You think they still have to meet
100%,
the-
nope. All the codes got to be met, still have to pull all your permits, all inspections, yes.
I've seen where you mentioned height in this, on page. third page.
Height, I think we were just, we had marked height on the fences, not on the accessory buildings.
Yes, you did.
Height-
Oh, did we height? Oh.
Yep, max
Height's
height
in
14, max height
yeah.
17.
Oh, that is max
In the
height. I
chart.
mean, that's in the chart with 14, 17, 17. I don't know if height needs to be, most of the barns are,
Well, see now, when you talk larger square footage,
yeah,
you're talking higher peaks
yeah,
to get the,
that's true.
so it would be driven by the pitch ratio.
It would be driven by the pitch.
So
which
where
most-
we've gotten into that, because I think you guys have looked at a couple of those, but there was the one out, I think, on Inkster, and it was that second story, which he did turn into a living unit, which is why, that's what, there's been a couple of those, but not too many, not as many as you'd think, because and it is that concern about turning them into dwelling units.
Yes.
So,
And I don't know if we want to extend the height, because a lot of these, the ones that I'm thinking of are ones that they're just going to just be barely missing the square footage, and they're not building these two-story.
Well, like I said, in the examples here, that one was, it got more, it was 2,400 to start with. See, total proposed detached accessory structures.
I see the 53.
So maybe that was multiple buildings on 2.95 acres.
Yeah, it may have
oh,
been.
it was.
It wasn't just
I
necessarily
don't think
one
you've
building.
had one that has been just one building
Asking for
bigger
something
than,
that-
I think they're all because of the total.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
makes more
and-
sense.
And
Yeah.
some of them, some of it is to discourage, or to encourage, if somebody's got something that's falling apart, get rid of that
Yeah.
and,
Step it up a-
rather than keeping that. And sometimes I think that, it's been a while, but I think we have had a couple of those that the board granted. You guys would probably remember that have been here forever. Weren't there a couple back in the day where it was kind of questionable about that shed that was back there? And it's like, we'll give you this little bit of variance, but you got to get rid of that shed.
Well, on Harriman River Drive, they're
Yeah,
putting
there's
one,
fifty.
Yeah.
just south of ours.
Yeah.
And he got a nice barn, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, no, that's going.
Yeah.
The lean-to that he had back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes it can, and I think we've done a lot of that administratively, where you work with them a little bit, and it's like, well, let's get that variance down by getting rid of a couple of those or those things, back there, so.
So I think that if you were to apply some sort of, threshold to the square footage, you might as well take a similar approach with the height, so you don't get into a situation where you guys can administratively approve the square foot increase, but then they can't go up 2, 3, 4 more feet.
Yeah.
And they gotta bring it into here.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So maybe I can work on coming up with possibly just like a added verbiage in the ordinance stating, I'll do some research and come up with a percentage threshold that I think won't be too big. But, and then again, I like that because we're not, doesn't mean they don't have to get a variance. If something looks off on the property where it's like, I don't know, this doesn't work, then they would have to come and, you know what I mean, come
Because
before
there's
the
still
board.
setback requirements.
Still setback
And the
requirements.
bigger the property, the bigger the setback.
Yep. Still lot coverage requirements, percentages that we're not gonna change, so they can't like cover their entire lot with buildings.
So you could put a provision in that a certain percent, it can be administrative with some criteria. You base your decision on something, and if it's like, nope, that's not gonna work, it's a little too big, it's gonna impact the neighbor's site view or something, and they wanna
Absolutely.
challenge it, they can come back.
Then they can come back.
They can come and
So maybe
petition you guys.
Through administrative review, if they brought in letters from the neighbors.
From the neighbors,
Could, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
You know, you cut
Yeah.
that one off at the pass, so to speak.
Yep,
Instead of getting that far into the thing, and then somebody
Yeah.
shows up and goes, I don't like it.
yeah, I don't want it. Yeah, we can, because if they're over it, but they're within the threshold, we would administratively review. Could require them to get neighbor letters and agreements.
But now for your pole barns and stuff, there is no acceptance of, for living quarters up? in-
No,
No.
none.
Right. Because
Zero.
that means you coming into plumbing and all that other.
Well, you're into a whole bunch of issues.
And I
Yeah.
know there are some that do it.
No.
You always got to kind of try.
Oh, yeah.
If there's no living quarters in accessory buildings, and there's no home occupations in accessory buildings, which you know that's going on too, but. Okay, that was good direction.
That was perfect.
You guys know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Let's see what you can do on fences.
Yeah. The other one we see all the time are fences, and the main one that I've seen anyways, since the short time I've been here, are the corner lot fences.
Yeah, yes.
I see a lot of those corner lot fences.
We've had a lot of those.
Yeah, and some of them are good. I know the one gentleman on Harrison, they're just completing their fence now with and that was a good one. He stopped traffic I've talked to them recently, just a couple weeks ago, and stopped traffic cutting into his backyard. Nobody's taking his kids' bikes no more. It's a good thing, and the fence looks good. So I'm wondering if same kind of thing with the fences. Is that something those corner lot fences should always come in here? Or is there some sort of level we could look at and make sure if they're not hurting the site, the vision requirements, clear vision requirements? If it's same thing, they probably have to get a neighbor agreement with the fence as well. And is that something we could administratively do, or should those corner fences always come in for BZA?
My attitude is that we should, like I say, the city, not just us, but the city should, always be able to help the person that owns the property or owns the house or whatever. And, if we can make that easy on them, because if they gotta come in here and pay money to sit in front of us, that's just, like I say, I've
Well, I
just
think
always
this is a
been
good
against it.
movement to consider this.
Well, because, like I say, you look at the track record, approved all the way through.
Yeah,
And, so, the same kind of thing, like I said, you guys ought to be able to administratively determine if there's a
if it's gonna be a problem or not.
whatever, and, how can we come up with something that gives you that authority? And like you say, if you can run into something that just has a problem, then okay, you can send them in front of us.
Yeah,
But,
Height, soft corners, and setback from the sidewalk at least a foot.
at least a foot.
So
That was
you-
another question I was gonna ask. That's what we've been doing, is a foot. You guys think a foot's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I seen the one was a foot. I've seen a couple of them, and they're back off the sidewalk enough where somebody's not
You know,
gonna.
and it could be 5 feet away, and if you're gonna hit it, you're gonna hit it. But as you're going down the sidewalk, if it's a foot over instead of right next to it,
Yeah.
your brain can handle it better.
Yeah.
You're on a bicycle, let's say.
Yeah, I definitely don't like it right next to the sidewalk either.
No, can't. They don't do that with chain link.
Yeah,
Always a foot.
yep.
Yep, I think,
No. Go ahead.
no, you go.
Like I was looking here, where it's got the corner one. You got the corner lot facing, and the house behind it is facing that street. Now, we still got to make sure they come in, they don't want to take their fence, that whole foot to the sidewalk, because there's a house back there, and that makes a big difference. Like you see the diagram on page,
The
well,
3.2,
Right,
you're saying with the setback from the sidewalk?
right, when that's set back there, like the bottom, picture, you know, you gotta make sure, because someone gonna wanna bring their sidewalk, their fence all the way out to that sidewalk. But then it's a hinder to the house behind it.
Yeah, those ones where the house is facing and where you can't go past the house if the front yard, the other house is facing
Yeah.
that side of the street. Yeah, because if you come out to the sidewalk there, it could hinder this neighbor.
Right, even though if that was your yard, you wanna have all your yard inside your
Side, yeah,
fence.
you wouldn't want to fence that little bit of it.
Me personally, I would try to get a variance, unless it's a privacy fence.
We had one a while back where they had a driveway, wanted a gate and a driveway in the back of their house, but they wanted this fence up, a 6-foot-high fence. And it was out fairly close to the road. It was about a year or so back.
Yeah.
And we made them change it because when they were driving out of that driveway, they couldn't see cars were coming. It blocked their view of the road.
Yeah,
So that was an issue.
yeah, we definitely don't want that.
Yeah, but when they want to park their cars and stuff in their backyard.
But I think what I just heard is that we're fundamentally aligned with, you know, some creative language you can come up with to shift some of these out of the board review and into just more of an administrative.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll work on that, what that verbiage looks like exactly, and, you know, and they're just for the ones that we would all sit here and agree, yes, this person should be able to do this.
Yep.
Awesome. That's perfect. Thank you, guys.
Good. Our residents will be happy.
It'd just be a lot friendlier for the residents.
And that's the
That's what we're
thing.
here for,
They don't
make the
have to wait
residents
so long.
They already don't like coming to City Hall. Then you get there and you find out, what happened? I said no.
And I had to pay for this?
Then they had to pay for it, yes. So if we can, like, meet them halfway, so to speak.
Yeah,
Can't do nothing.
And reasonable requests should be met with reasonable response.
yeah.
Right.
So what is required now to make these amendments?
Well, we'll have to come up with the verbiage we want to add to the ordinance, and then that'll have to go to planning commission. And then
So Jerry,
that'll,
remember everything that was said
and then
tonight?
that'll also, and then once they would approve that onto city council before it would actually get added into the ordinance. So I mean, it's going to be a little bit of time before it happens, but we can work our way there.
And we'll keep you guys up to date once you
Yeah, once we get the
something.
word, I'll definitely share that with you guys, once we figure out the verbiage and get your guys' opinion on it. If there's
Well,
something we need to
Timing-wise,
add.
we can probably, we have I'm not gonna call it a light agenda for planning commission, we have one case on, but it's a pretty substantial case this month, but if you get it done in time, we could.
Well, yeah, we
could
should be
these
able to get that done in
amendments
time
on. So talk to the
for this
planning commission
planning
about it in
commission meeting.
September. Jeff, I'm not gonna be here in October, but Jeff can update you at the October meeting, as to what's going on, see what, you can even show you the draft. Because we don't have time to schedule a public hearing for planning commission in September, we can talk to them about it.
We can
and go to
discuss it
public
and do a public hearing in October.
Yep, and then keep you guys apprised of the language and then off to city council, so certainly by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily have something.
So next
in the
building
works by
season.
November. Yep,
Some of these, and there's not too many of them, but some of them wouldn't have to wait so long to
Right.
do their
So,
project.
Just a suggestion, or not a suggestion, a point of interest, would be, so while we're pending new language, if somebody was to come in and say tomorrow, they're still abiding by the current rules,
Because I can't break the ordinance,
could we
yes.
advise them that they waited?
tell them the story.
What's that?
We have one, the guy that wants to do
It's
the,
gonna take a while.
it's a
Maybe,
corner.
maybe.
And it's on a curve lot. And 'Cause you got
Oh,
two.
for the there is one
Yes,
fence, yes,
the
there is
fence.
one fence that we did advise
Yep.
somebody, yes.
Yep.
We get a lot of different fence ones in, but we did tell them we were working on language,
Mm-hmm.
but the way it is right now, you'd have to go to, or you can wait, and it might change, and we'd be able to administratively approve it.
So he said, oh, I've waited long enough, I'll wait.
I'll wait,
Exactly what I'm saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if someone's adamant, well, then they're adamant.
Right,
Yeah, if they
right.
want it, then, you
Right.
know.
Right,
That, it gives them an option on their own thought processing to wait or plow straight ahead.
Yeah,
And it's not that they were forced. It's friendlier all the way around in the city's eyes and their eyes on how the city presented it.
yeah. Yeah, no, we'll definitely do that,
good,
Soft options.
yeah.
yeah.
So if this is adopted, that means we'll have less meetings?
No, sorry.
Yeah.
People are always wanting variances.
Yeah. But it will eliminate some of these that we're seeing so frequently.
I think it's a good move.
That, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That, again, we're being well, this is redevelopment ready, but it's certainly at the residential level as opposed to, some of the bigger commercial development level, but that's what we aim for. So all the way around. So good. Speaking of that, we can check on our progress. So the way redevelopment ready works is, like I said, to stay certified, we have to go through these yearly updates of things. So this is great. We can check off the box that we looked at some sections of our ordinance and are kind of responding accordingly by, drafting some amendments. One of the other things that's on the redevelopment ready list of things is yearly training. And we put together, when we were qualifying for redevelopment ready, we listed all the things that we do. And we went back and looked at some of the stuff. Cindy Lyon, as you guys that were here when she was there, did a fabulous job at keeping track of who was going to what and where. And there was so much more opportunity. A lot of it is because of, expenses. Expenses have been cut. But the good news is MAP, which is Michigan Association of Planning, while there is the annual conference, which is coming up, you will not see me next week because that's where I'll be, or next month, that's where I'll be. But MAP also offers individualized things, and the Board of Zoning Appeals is one that they have specialized training in, that we certainly, that is available to you, and I think we gave you some of the links for that. But one of the other thing that's going to happen as part of this continued training and continued recertification is the city overall is going to be holding joint for all boards and commissions some training sessions that I believe are going to be held by the city attorney and possibly one of our old city planners that, planning consultants that might be back to help us out, that has been doing a lot of the redevelopment ready training. So we may be bringing in people to help, and you should be hearing about that. I know they talked about doing that in September, but we haven't heard, I don't think
They didn't
talked
come
about-
up with dates
yeah,
yet,
come up
but
with a
I
date
know,
yet. So, but in the meantime, I said, well, the Board of Appeals is perfect, because you've got a couple newish members, and, we make this stuff available in terms of the basic stuff. So we copied off the bylaws for you, the ordinance, where you find your authority in the zoning ordinance, the enabling legislation, which is the state of Michigan, where it all comes from. And so that's just some of the basic stuff that tells you about basically how this board was set up. What we'll be getting into, and you have the ability to do it on your own when we see things, we get it to you, and there is budget to sign up for classes. Many of them are Zoom classes and online. Some of them are held. They used to hold a lot of them over in Taylor, and I know, Jerry, I think when you were coming on board with both planning and zoning, you did quite a bit over there. So we're just, again, we're, and this isn't just to check off a box to be certified. This is something that, of course, is very important, and we all want to keep up to speed with things. Steve Hitchcock had sent something over, and that was the very last page. That was a Michigan Court of Appeals decision. So, he sent that over and suggested that, we get that in your packet. I said,
That was
"Well,
interesting.
yeah.
I read those, like, wow.
Yeah. So anyways, that's really all it is. You're not getting any training tonight. You're just hearing about training and getting, again, a lot of it's for you new guys. to make
And I know
sure
the
you have
chief of
stuff
staff was
training.
working on dates, trying to figure out dates for it to happen, but I know you guys will, everybody will be told well in advance about it.
Any extra training on how to handle unruly crowds in attendance?
You know, there actually could be. That's, at MAP, when we go, they always ask for suggestions of topics. And, you know, risk management's always a big one, and, yeah.
I've had a
dealing
couple
with-
that kind of
dealing
got out of
with,
hand, and I guess some of that's my fault for not trying to keep some order, but the last meeting we had was interesting.
It was interesting.
You hit this first, and then you go out and hit.
Yeah, but they don't hear that.
No,
We're the
then
only
you-
ones who
then
hear
you
it.
go out and hit them.
I think for that crowd, you guys needed the team approach. Doing something, that was a tough meeting, and that
was on the
was,
council.
that was
I had to
unfortunate,
cover
but
that.
sometimes,
I had
you know,
some
people
meetings
just
on
don't know
Yeah.
the protocol, and they think meetings are,
Not only Phil this
you know, they
way,
can
but
speak
were out the
freely,
door.
and they can, and it's just,
You
it can
couldn't
get out
make
of
'em
order real quick, so.
You know, one of the interesting things that was brought up is the lighting for that Ashley Capitol. They wanted higher lights and stuff, because a lot of people were afraid it was gonna light up the whole sky and the whole city. There's a Kenworth dealer that's built a site over on the service drive near Belleville.
Yep.
And it's not even open yet, but it's a beautiful building, and they've got similar lights, same kind of lights. They don't shine up, they shine down.
That's
Down.
right, they shut down.
They have the
Designed for
shields
that.
and they shine
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
yes.
Our
And a lot-
photometric plan, I mean, Jerry saw it with the photometrics at Planning Commission. I mean, we have light level, you can't let light go that high, you know, that intensity. It's all regulated, so,
Yep.
you know, your pole gets a little taller. The poles that they're asking for are, you know, well, I guess Jeff, I said, come out. Is this pole in our parking lot out here? What is that? Is that a 25-footer?
It
Probably
is.
25 feet on something, on a property that big, and the scale of buildings that big is,
The building's gonna
Nothing.
block half the
Yeah.
lights.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
again, the lights, I can remember, you know, and you probably all can, remember when they built, you know, along, you know, down on Heron River Drive, past Pennsylvania, and they put that big, you know, the train place. and
Oh,
everything.
yeah, the car
And then
loading, yeah.
and then they put a lot of cars in
Yeah.
there. Well, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
When that place lit up, you look up
Yeah.
in the sky.
That was terrible.
And you
That
could
was
see
bad.
it.
There's an orange
Because I know
glow.
exactly
That
what the
was brought
people
up.
were saying, but that isn't the way it is
No,
anymore.
Sure.
You don't get that.
yeah.
they weren't LEDs either.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. I can remember you.
There was a lot of confusion just in general about things, and it sounded like some people thought that things had changed, that they came in and they had 14-foot lights and their building was this tall, and then they changed it, like after planning commission or something, and like, no, it was
Three things they
never.
needed to come to us for that were
Yeah.
approved that night,
Yeah, but
providing
they-
we approved it.
Right, they always had the light pole, and it was actually the city, we had them combine the properties. So that property became a property of split zoning with the industrial and the residential, and that's why.
In the piece of residential property that it's, the reason why they needed the variance is a
Because now
piece
it-
that's would never be developed anyways.
Right,
It's not gonna be houses or.
No.
And it falls within that mitigated property from,
Exactly.
And they're gonna help us finish cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, you can't beat that.
Were you all a part of when that went through the city council?
It hasn't been to city council
Hasn't been to
yet.
Oh, it
council
hasn't been
yet,
city-
no.
okay. So I was just curious if it's gonna get that same level of excitement. I think it will.
It could. There's been under public comment, there's been,
There's been people that have come to council and spoke about it when they haven't even been, they're not even on the agenda,
Gotcha.
but they have not been to council yet.
but we're encouraging people to get informed like that, just not knowing, you know, can kind of change your whole attitude or your opinion of something
No.
when you don't.
All of our notes, our meeting notes from that night, that's included in the city council's packets.
Oh, they'll get the minutes.
Yes,
back.
they'll get all
Minutes,
that.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
no, minutes,
Yeah.
Yep.
minutes,
Yep.
good.
Yep, the plan's back in, it's under administrative review right now for
Yeah.
the conditions of planning commission approval. You know, we wanted a clean plan before going to council. So we're cleaning and making it, it's just some bad housekeeping stuff, so.
Gotcha.
So. That's it.
Yep. Think so.
I was gonna
Well, I
say,
think there's
we
some
could
good
always-
information in here. I'm gonna hang on to this,
Oh, yeah.
keep it for reference.
Well, read those back, the Zona, Michigan Court of Appeals decisions. It was really interesting. That's a Reader's Digest.
It was, I'm glad it was
Yeah.
included.
I really liked the way it was presented.
Yep.
And then the result.
The decisions.
It was a pretty good reading, I liked that.
Well, I'll tell Mr. Hitchcock to find you more.
No, it was very
No,
helpful.
you know, we used to do a lot more of this stuff in feeding you things, and again, it's one of the good things about redevelopment ready that's kind of reminded us all that, you know, you guys aren't dealing with stuff on a day-to-day basis, you know, like we are, but you're making decisions and you need to know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on, so.
These were fine examples, because I could actually put myself in the shoes of these situations, like the one here with the agribusiness, seasonal agritourism. So they wanted to go, oh, we're doing weddings, because it's a barn, it's not agribusiness, that's, you're operating like a hall. Whereas opposed to like the Halloween haunted attraction across the street that we see every year and approve for a month. Totally different.
Yeah, totally
you know.
different, yes.
And that's where I could say, I could apply myself or a situation I've been in to that one specific. But these were very interesting, I liked it, more of that would be great.
Good.
It was good entertaining.
Good, I'll let Mr. Hitchcock know.
And it was clear and concise.
Any idea when the sheets construction will start?
You know, they were in the process, last I talked to them, they were in the process of actually buying the property. And they actually wanted to come to you on a lighting variance. And they worked with our engineers, and we think we've got that resolved, so.
They had initially discussed trying to get foundations and stuff in
This fall, right?
this fall, prior to winter. I haven't heard that's changed at all, so I'm hoping they're still on that same timeline, but I'm not certain.
That's quite a project over there on Wick Road.
It is quite a project, the whole,
Unbelievable.
and it's moving too. They are getting, the two buildings across the street, Opus, I think they poured 1,500 yards of concrete today inside the one building.
You mean on the one over off of us, on Smith?
Yep,
On
right
the
across the
north side-
street from
on
like
the
the
north
north
side of
point.
Smith
Yeah,
Road.
they just
Yep.
started like they just painted the outsides.
Yes.
They're pouring the floor today. They did 70,000 square foot of floor pour today.
Unbelievable.
70,000.
I was
That's a
impressed
lot
with
of
that.
yardage.
That's, what's that?
That's a lot of yardage.
That's a lot, 1,500 yards.
I remember doing that at the airport when we was pouring that terminal.
Oh, that was a,
Yeah, I did the company I was with, we was getting the slabs ready for them to pour. And it'd be just amazing how they just come in there and do all that.
Yeah,
And when you're doing your grading, you got to be precise. Because you take big areas like that and you say, well, I'm only about a half-inch low. Now, you take an area like that, a half-inch low is a whole lot of concrete.
that's a lot of cement.
You look at it, because one crew, they did it, and they came up 50-something yards overage. And the company that did the grading had to eat that. They had to pay for that. It was, to me, all that was exciting.
Yeah.
What do you think about how they're painting some of those buildings over with the white paint? Have you noticed that? There's one,
You talking about the one on the corner?
no, it's up near Smith Road.
Right.
But yes, on the corner there.
It's corner Smith,
It's
right
been
by,
all newly painted, all white. Really? Looks good.
No, the one they did with this, the beige one they did, on the south of Smith Road.
Yeah.
That looks good also.
Yeah. It's amazing what they can do with that concrete.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Bringing those big walls in there, setting them in.
They're moving too. There's a lot of progress happening over there, lots of progress.
so,
Yes.
now that we're on that subject of that property over there, is there anything you can tell us about this Motown Sports Group?
Well, you saw them
That was them?
tonight. That's who was in here ahead of time. Yes, the plan, it's a very, very conceptual plan.
Conceptual site plan, yes.
Site plan. It is a large entertainment and sports complex, basically the lake area on the west side of Vining Road, south of Eat Course, north of Wick, and west of
Okay,
Wayne.
yeah.
Ashley Capital currently owns the property. You may have seen the billboard that's there that mentions Motown Sports.
It used to be the gravel pit.
Yeah, so the big thing that we have the most information on is a traffic study right now. OHM is finishing up the review on it, and we'll be meeting with them probably sometime soon, just to see what is happening with traffic. They've got coordination, a lot of coordination to do with both Wayne County and with Eagle on the wetlands, a lot of wetlands on that property, so.
But they are proposing a bunch of different sports facilities, I believe. The plan we just seen, there was basketball, hockey, there's like an auditorium, there's
Well, there's like an arena.
arena, yeah, like an arena, there's few future hotels back over by the lake area, there's, I think, 3,400 parking spaces, something like that.
It was also.
Very big, about 390 acres,
Yeah,
almost
almost
400
400.
acres, I think.
It's been kind of on and off conceptually for a lot of years. And
For them to do that around that area.
There was a lot of people that were gonna
That's,
develop.
so how far
I call it
west are they
Lake
going with that, on the
Street.
other side?
on that,
But,
to Wayne,
and
to
it
Wayne
just
Wayne
Road,
Road,
it's
okay.
between Vining and.
So the whole-
Most of it is
The whole
just
old golf
directly-
course, old Shady Hollow golf course?
No, it doesn't come into there.
Doesn't come to that.
It kind of scoots out, there's a road that's going to go out onto, it's proposed to go out onto Wayne Road. Again, this stuff is very, very conceptual, and it's been, we've seen various plans. Back in the day, you guys probably remember, back in the Metro World Center days.
Oh, yeah.
Back, when there was another property owner there was some talk about stuff like this. And, they're huge, huge, huge endeavors, and lots of coordination with other, again, the county's big because of
Yes.
the roads and stormwater, and Eagle, they've gotta get that squared away. It started out as sort of a destination for youth travel sports. That when you had your kids, my kids, I know, went through it, Jeff's still going through it, some of you, I'm sure, have been through it as well, that, these tournaments that you're going everywhere, and, to have a center where you could have a bunch of different things, and other things for the rest of your family, that you could turn these trips, these tournaments and these sporting things into something for everybody, Top Golf, or is there a splash park on there? I
There
think?
was a
Might
Top
be
Golf on the plan. I think there was I don't know if it was a splash park or if it was a whole, like, building.
Yeah.
I know that travel ball, whether it be baseball, basketball, hockey, it's huge.
It is.
Oh,
It's an
it is.
industry into itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I can see that definitely being, we went to a wedding in Rochester, New York, like 2 months ago, and at our hotel, there was a bunch of youth soccer people from Canada.
Yeah.
Yep,
They were over there for that weekend.
yep,
Like the facility in Taylor, Little League,
yeah,
from all over the world.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a swim like that now too.
A what?
Swimming.
Oh,
for
swimming.
youth. Coach Vicky up at the high school, she does it. She had like 5 go to regional, qualified regional, 3 kids. I'm talking about 11, 12-year-old kids. Qualified, 3's qualified for state.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a travel swim team, and she's trying to get my, reason I know my great-granddaughter started swimming with her.
Okay,
And I just keep encouraging her to stick with this girl. This is scholarship, and she's an honor student in school. But the bad part about it, she goes to Summit instead of to high school. But Coach Vicky, she does wonders with those kids. Because I talked to a couple of people out of Garden City who have worked with her, said she knows what she's doing.
yeah.
And those kids are swimming.
When you think about airport right here,
Yes.
you won't need a rental car. It's all proximity.
Yep,
It is.
yep.
And it could be a destination, with the freeways coming in right here, it could be a destination from people anywhere. Whether it's local people, local teams coming, or bigger,
definitely do
bigger,
some restaurants.
you know what I mean?
Because
from
I've
all
seen
over
that
the
before at Leonardo's, where somebody's coming out with a stack of pizzas, and you go, what's this? There's, oh, they got like youth hockey's in team, the kids
Yeah.
get, they're like just voracious.
Oh, yeah. I know with just like my son plays baseball, and in the summers, we have to plan, like next year, he has a tournament in South Carolina, and we've already had to book where the whole team's got to book where they're staying and everything like that, so it is a big deal, so.
Yep, it's a very exciting project. It is.
If youth sports is something
Yeah,
else.
I think we're all, we do have odds and ends of it that, we'd be happy to show you. It's very, very, very conceptual.
Does
so.
the, I know that part of the council was here tonight, what do they think of something? I mean, are they,
Don't know,
I do not know.
you know,
don't know.
because like I said, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That really
Very
is
exciting.
exciting.
Oh, it is exciting.
With a captured crowd.
Because, like I said, we've sat here for how many years? And, we're gonna do all these big things and then it never happened.
Yeah.
Oh, we wanted, the gambling casinos proposed.
Oh, we're gonna have everything.
racetracks,
We were gonna have, big sports stuff and there's gonna be a baseball minor league here. Oh, we're gonna, I mean,
That's, yeah.
in our lifetime, we've seen it all. And, but it always just never happened. And part of the problem was basically you're always up against the airport. Back in the day, which was Wayne County. And they didn't really want that. And then if it was anything that would interfere with Detroit, that was another block.
Yeah.
And
Well, like that Novi Expo Center, for instance.
Yeah.
It's hurting right now because of the 275 and 96 stuff. You can't put everybody in Grand River.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
So I know
Boy,
it's
was-
curtailed some of
Oh,
the
yeah,
State
we
fair
need- no.
last weekend, the state fair, boy, oh boy.
Some kind of
Trying to get
facility
through the
here
area.
would be great.
Yes.
I mean, it'd
Yeah.
just be great.
You would need a rental car.
But
Say,
again,
you got airport, major highway,
but
275.
again, you gotta, it's
You have the
still
room
the
too with all the
politics.
hotels
Yeah.
close by here
Still
for when people do
politics.
come for a destination.
And
It's set up well
It's
for it.
very
This is
exciting.
perfect location, because you look at the big things up in Ann Arbor. They come to the airport, but everything's right here.
I was on the council in McNamara.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
So, other than that, any questions on, you're probably seeing a lot of gas stations in here that we're talking to right now. But some of the other development, where Jeff's got his team working hard on some of these non-conforming sites and working with code enforcement, and we're getting some good response on some of them, so that's been real positive. You do have a meeting in October, we haven't published yet, but it looks like the Sheraton will be back for Park and Fly, correct? And use variance for an auto place.
And we got the park and fly all figured out, do we?
We're trying.
that should be interesting.
We're working very hard.
Because like you say, we've been working with that for 50 years too.
That's encouraging for me to know, because I've
Well,
been working with it for 6 months, and I'm like, how do you figure all this out?
Well, good luck.
With the Sheraton, I know it hasn't been a year since we approved them. What,
In October, it expires in October.
is it really? Oh, wow. Okay. Time
That's why,
flies.
that's why
Yeah.
they're back. So, but there's been some good
There's
progress.
been a lot of good
Yeah,
progress on
Jeff's
that,
really- Really done some good, yeah.
They've actually been working with, trying to figure out a development for that area, because they have like such a big lot over there. And they've ran into some obstacles, obviously, but they are working, trying to figure out to do something there. on that big lot to see that corner would be the best spot. Retail strategies with the city they're working with now, and now they just got to figure out some traffic stuff to see if they can do a cutout in that area to try to get some potential developers to develop on that back lot. They did do a bunch of landscaping, redid all their lighting over there. The inside of the place, they've really done a lot of work on as well. They've really upgraded that place in the last, at least since I've seen it.
They hosted a B2B last week? It was last week?
Last week, yeah.
The mayor
Last
was
Monday.
on the panel. What was that guy's, one of the news guys?
Rup Raj.
Rup Raj was there. Yeah, it was a Chris Gerwood from Aerotropolis, and it was a great panel, very, very well attended. And yes, the hotel's looking good and
Sure
nice
is.
that, yeah, and hosting events like that, yeah.
They have a lot of, I've been to quite a few events there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good place to hold them. So other than that, unless you guys have more questions on anything going on?
We can move on to discussion.
So, just a quick question. So the I-275 overpass over here on River Drive, they're supposed to put a drain tile across.
Okay.
Now, it's supposed to be like pretty quick here. It's supposed to coincide with, I think, the start of school.
Yeah, when they're gonna do that, I don't know. I do know I've noticed a lot of cones and everything on 275, but when that's actually gonna happen, I don't know. That's something I'd have to ask. I'm sure Roberto's probably up to date on timing of that.
Because there's something about a gas line they gotta move to get the culvert to go through.
Yeah,
Because after that 6-inch rain, I drove by there, I looked,
yeah. Yeah, when that's gonna happen, I'm not 100% sure.
so I guess another question in that exact same area. Are they gonna do anything to improve the appearance of that underpass?
That I do not know
'Cause
either.
like, if you go up towards Wixom, man, they do a good job up there.
Yeah,
And it's still 275, so it seems like they could translate that south, especially when you got an airport and gateway.
right there. Yeah.
I was just wondering about that.
I will ask about that, but I don't know. I don't know if they're planning on doing like an upgrade or aesthetics for it or anything.
It's E-Course and Wayne Road, that's still for completion for around December.
That's what we hear.
We're hoping.
Because I hear they ran into some,
They ran into a lot of different
Yeah.
obstacles.
when they go in
Scary.
that ground, because see, years ago, when they did that stuff, the contractor gave prints. And a lot they did was as-bills. And I remember doing work in Run Across. We did a job once, and we smelled gas, and when the gas company came out, it was never marked. We were about to dig up, I think it was an 8-inch high pressure.
Wow,
We didn't know it was there.
yeah.
There was no record of it.
Nobody knew it was there, yeah.
And when I was doing water main repair in Detroit, we had a leak in the alley. We went, no map showed this water main. So we dug it up to see where the water coming from. It was a wooden, live water main.
Wow.
We had no idea where it came from or where it went.
They used to use logs, we had them in Romulus
Yes.
when they tore
Yeah.
out Main Street that one time.
And this one here, what we did, we found this, my uncle, he cut a limb, twiddled it, he gave it to me, told me to go down there and put it in that hole. So I put my rain gear on and went down there, we got the pump, I got it in the hole, tapped it in there, put a band around it, snug it up, supported it, and covered it up. And we left it right alone. Because when you get to digging, the stuff that you run across like that.
Yeah.
I worked with some
I've heard some
guys,
stories
once
up
they
that
was
way.
doing a job, I forgot exactly where they was at, Lefty them. They ran about a bunch of coins. It was about 7, 8 of them got a couple $100,000 apiece. Yes,
My goodness.
yeah, you'd be surprised at the stuff you run into when you out there. You know, because I've been in tunnels 100 and something feet up under the ground. I used to love it. 58 degrees year round.
That's controlled there.
Yeah, oh yeah, you got to have the right equipment stuff now, don't go down there, you gotta have your sniffers and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, any other discussion? I'd just like to thank you two for this nice presentation here tonight. It's very informative.
Well, thank you guys for all the good feedback. We
I
really
was gonna say,
appreciate
thank
it.
you guys for making
Yeah.
this a productive evening. This was, you guys are
Well, it's
doing a
been
great job. We love it.
Very nice to have this all for ourselves.
Yes, good to get some input.
Nobody out there yelling at us.
Nobody coming at you with a pitchfork.
Oh, yeah.
Very,
Well, is there any more discussion? Item 9 is adjournment for this meeting.
So move, Mr. Chair.
support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Jones, to adjourn this meeting. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Shannon votes yes. This meeting is adjourned. It was a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.